Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 463 for the 1st of June. Uh, so let's start off with pressing the like button and subscribe if you are new to this channel or you have not subscribed. Please help me subscribe so that people who have not discovered DPA can actually discover DPA. From the southern front, we do not have any information regarding any fighting in this region here. Moving into the Zaporizhzhia region, at the Zaporizhzhia front, we have reported shelling over at Lubkove, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, where they discovered recon forces, where they fired mortars at them. Shelling is reported at Shebaki, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and shelling is reported at Malatomashka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry as well. The Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 was shot down over Novoandrievka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. They said that it is shot down by air defense, so it does make sense because it's very close to the front line. Probably the Ukrainians were launching some airstrikes on Russian positions that caused it to be exposed. And moving on, that's all from the Zaporizhzhia line. We do not have anything at Velika Novosylka, which previously was seems to be the hotspot. Moving into the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, we have shelling being reported at Vodian, at the Voleda region. The one at Voleda was particularly mentioned to be by the flamethrower system. It didn't hit Voleda itself, it hit near Voleda's on some entrenchment, and there is shelling reported at Palivka. And the Ukrainian push towards Volodymyrivka has stopped. There's no more information about them pushing towards the village. Probably because of the Russian shelling, that entire operation has been temporarily abandoned. And moving further up north, we have some updates in Marinka. We have fighting reported within Marinka as usual. But Remlin 21, the pro-Russian source, says that now 80% of the city is now under Russian control. And they mentioned that the fighting is in the southern part of Marinka, which is actually this area here. However, information coming from SITREP map suggests that the Russians only captured 70%, and they managed to have some small advance over the northern part of the Marinka region. So there's two different information. SITREP maps is considered neutral in my books, whereas Remlin is pro-Russian. So the situation is now looking like this. Fighting is performed by the partly by the Chechen forces. Shelling is being reported at Kharkiv and or Gyagogivka, Georgievka, whatever. So I think the shelling reported over at this area here is is because the Ukrainian forces this is the real position for the Ukrainian forces, and so they are, as they reinforce and they need to gather forces in this area here, they got shelled by the Russian artillery or airstrikes to prevent further reinforcement into the front line here in Marinka. So I believe that's what happened. And that's all from the Donetsk Front. Over at the Avdiivka Front, there is no offensive offensive operations or assault operations being reported, despite we have a lot of this information about the Russian pushing in multiple directions from the eastern side towards Avdiivka. Maybe the Russians are taking a operational pause. Shelling, however, is reported at Tonenke and Latoshkine. Information is coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, and these are again real positions, just like the one we just mentioned earlier at Gyagogivka. So this might be another softening operation to prepare for another offensive, probably within the Vodian region, pushing up north. And moving away from Avdiivka, we have nothing at the New York front as usual. Moving into the Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, the Ukrainians are still on the offensive. Their operations to capture Klishevka continue, with fighting reported along the canal region and towards Klishevka in the area of Ivaniske as well. The information is coming from Myroshnikov about the one at Canal, a pro-Ukrainian source. And then there is a Myroshnikov mentioned further about pushing further towards Klishevka. They say that they have an advancement of 300 meters. and then also that the Russians are putting a strong resistance, and the Klishchiivka is not under Ukrainian control just yet. Fighting at Ivanivsky is again also mentioned by Miroshnikov. However, according to United 24 media, they reported that the commander of the ground forces of Ukraine, Sirsky, say that the situation at Bakhmut have changed because there's the Russian replacement of the Wagner forces with army and marine units, or perhaps VDV units, because they say landing units in terms of the translation. And they say that on the surface it looked like the Russians are not making offensive actions. However, he said this is not true. And however, he did say that the Ukrainians have stopped their attacking on the flanks, and they are performing other important tasks over in this area here. Whatever important task that is supposed to mean, nobody knows. But that contradicts the information from the pro-Ukrainian source, Miroshnikov, where he claims that the Ukrainians are still attacking in this area here. So yeah, but Miroshnikov ultimately is a secondary source in DPA's book. So we will take Sirsky's word for it for now, but do be mindful that commanders, when they talk to media, they tend to lie to protect operational secrecy or to mislead the enemies. And moving away from the Bakhmut Front, and that's all from the Bakhmut Front, we go into the Siversk Front. This is Siversk. And at the Siversk Front, there is some updates. Fighting is reported at Spirne. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, SITREP Maps, which is a neutral source, and Remlin 21, which is a pro-Russian source, they all reported fighting at Spirne. So according to the latest information, that the Russians managed to push into Spirne itself, and they have managed to capture the first houses, and they are likely to continue to storm the rest of the settlement in the next day or two. And moving on further up north, there fighting is also being reported at Bilohorivka in the Luhansk region. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, fighting is likely coming from the south because that's where the fighting was coming from previously. And there is shelling being reported at Ryhorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And moving into the Kreminna Front, at the Kreminna Front, this is Kreminna. At the Kreminna Front, fighting is reported within the Serebranski Forestry. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they said that there is a Ukrainian recon force being contacted near Kreminna. Maybe the Ukrainian forces managed to go nearer to Kreminna, I guess. Not sure exactly where. There's shouting reported at Dibrova, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And yeah, I think that's all from the Kreminna Front. So moving on up to the Svatove Front, this is Svatove. At the Svatove Front, we have fighting reported at Kamazilivka. Kamazilivka is southwest of Svatove. And over at Serhievka, there is some updates. According to Deep State UA, they managed to geolocate a video where SBU, Ukrainian Special Service, managed to they kind of dig through some houses, and these houses actually is located within the village of Serhievka. Serhievka, we have previously reported this as captured by the Ukrainian forces. However, it was disputed by the Russian Defense Ministry, saying that the Ukrainians were attacking Serhievka or near Serhievka. Then that was a very long time ago. That was in October. 15 October last year. And finally, we have confirmation from Deep State UA. So that actually breaks up the front line, so that there is become more clear now, with the Ukrainians holding the western part of the Zaporizhzhia River at Serhievka, with the Russians holding Ryhorivka on the eastern side of Zaporizhzhia River. And moving further up north, we have fighting reported at Avdiivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, with the Ukrainians doing some probes in this area here. Shelling is being reported at Stemakivka, and also at Novosibirsk, and also at Berestove. So this 3 locations got shelled by the Russian forces. There is information from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting near Kuzimivka. Kuzimivka is actually this Russian-controlled village. The Ukrainians are holding Novoselivsk, and so the fighting might actually coming from the north or from the south, but probably in the area here nearer towards Kuzimivka. So that's probably what is being mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Moving into the Kupyansk Front, the Kupyansk is actually this is Kupyansk, the Ukrainian controlled city, and there is fighting reported at Kaislivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, saying that there is probing in this area here. Shelling is being reported at Timkovka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and over at the Masyutivka, Voreshna region, Sinkivka region, there's a lot of new developments. The Ukrainians are still probing in the Sinkivka region, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. They say that they managed to thwart some recon forces over here. However, latest information from Surya map suggests that the Russian forces have captured more of the forest here, and south of Masyutivka or southwest of Liman Pershi. They say they are getting closer to Kupyansk, which is actually just over here. The Russian is likely to be trying to capture the entire forest region here as they continue to make the push southwards, and hopefully they could, in their brains, they hope, not I hope, I don't care, just want to put it clearer in case the pro-Ukrainians comment below, complaining about me being pro-Russian, whatever, man. Fighting is reported in this area here. However, there is a conflicting information because the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they countered a Ukrainian attack in the area here in Mashinove. Mashinove is actually this train station over here, this Mashinove. So they say that there is some fighting in this area here. So maybe this information is very outdated since the attack, the Russians have managed to push through and captured this new line. And further up north, we have continued fighting reported west of Masyutivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians are still attacking in this area here, which is unlikely to be the case. It's probably Ukrainian attacking the Russian positions over here instead. And further up north, over at Voreshna, there is a very interesting development. In this, so just in case you lost your bearing, Kupyansk is here. This is Kupyansk, and this is Voreshna. And at the Voreshna region, there is interesting development because Ryba, the pro-Russian source, says that the Russian forces is now conducting an offensive in the direction of Voreshna, and they say that fierce fighting is now ongoing on the outskirts of the city, and that is kind of weird. So I look at their video mapping. It seems like the Russians are pushing towards Voreshna, but they might not have crossed the river just yet. But in order to attack the city, you have to cross the river, and to even attack towards the river, you have to cross the river, because if you hold the position just along the river, you are just going to get bombarded by the Ukrainian artillery, and you're just going to get killed by snipers and everything. So it's not a safe position to be near a river. So I believe that it might be an actual push into the western part of the Oskil River. However, we have to wait for corroboration in the next few days to see whether this offensive is actually a sustained thing, or is it just a one-day report that after that it will never happen again. And moving into the Kharkiv Front, the former Happy Front, there is a lot of icons over here because again the Ukrainians launched an attack into the Belgorod region, and every time this happens, the Russian side becomes super detailed about everything that had happened. So so it all happens in the early morning of the 1st of June. At 4 a.m. artillery shelling started over at the Shebekino checkpoint, as well as in Novoya Tovozanka. So the Ukrainians started to shell all these positions. I'm not even sure if there's any military positions in these areas here that needed to be shelled by artillery. And anyway, after that happened, the Ukrainian forces attempted to attack towards this checkpoint over here from Volchansk. So they push in this direction towards this checkpoint. They have not crossed the border. They are pushing towards, and then as they get close to the checkpoint, the Russians started shelling using artillery on these Ukrainian forces, and this caused the Ukrainian forces to withdraw to Platinivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. All this information is from the Russian Defense Ministry. So the Ukrainian forces have to withdraw towards this town, and then on the other side, there is also another force of Ukrainians trying to attack towards Novaya Tovozanka on the right bank of the river. Right bank is actually on the western part. So the Ukrainians were attacking in this direction towards the Novaya Tovozanka along the river. So in this direction, and this was then contacted by the Russian forces. That means the Russian forces are actually holding the positions within the Russian positions, and they actually fought. And the Ukrainians have to retreat away from the front line. They didn't get their surprise, I guess, the surprise attack. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they said that the Ukrainian dispersed. And then at 4:45 a.m. in the morning, still not even 5 a.m. yet, the Russian forces got reinforced by an armored group. Is this the one? Yeah. And armors on the Russian side started to arrive on the border region. They got mobilized, or they were on standby, and then the Russian forces start to arrive at the area of operations. And at 4:57 a.m., so basically 5 a.m. in the morning, the Russian forces launched airstrike with helicopters on Okhitseve, as well at Hatishev. How do you pronounce this? I actually don't know how to pronounce this. Katishev. So anyway, the helicopters shot these two the areas within these two village and town, and so after that at 6:05, so this is just 5 minutes after the airstrike, the Ukrainians actually reinforced their effort, and they tried to attack from the area of Volchansk and Platinivka, and the Ukrainians tried another attempt at attacking into Russia in this direction here. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that this attack is a total out of 70 soldiers, 5 tanks, 4 armored vehicles, 7 pickups, and 1 Kazma truck. So basically, this is a raiding, quite a serious raiding force, because we are talking about 5 tanks, and they're going to plan. It looks like they're planning to just punch through. They're planning to just punch through because they have the tanks to help them towards Shebekino. However, as they are trying to push through, this advanced operation is 45 minutes long, and as they are pushing through, these troops were then shot by flamethrower systems. So as they are pushing, they are not even at the border yet. They are pushing in this direction. They got shot by TOS-1A flamethrower system, missile and artillery. So basically, they got shot by grads, artillery system, flamethrower system, and as a result, they had to withdraw. They have to abandon the operation, and according to the information, they withdraw towards this town called Kosnevoye. And Kosnevoye is reported is actually Liman over here, according to my to the Google Maps. So the Ukrainian forces actually have to withdraw in this direction. So it's not like they are there, but they are in withdrawing in that direction. They cannot sustain that offensive. And then so after that, they didn't take a lot of losses. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, after all this shelling, only 12 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 2 armored fighting vehicles and 1 pickup truck was destroyed. So it is pretty inaccurate shelling, but I think the intensity forced them back. So, and that this entire assault operation ended at 6:50 a.m. and 7 a.m. to 9:50 a.m., basically almost 3 hours, the Russians started to airstrike all these locations. They started to airstrike all these positions against the retreating Ukrainian forces as well as their reserve force. So shelling was reported in multiple locations, including Akhseve, this is Hatishev, Platinivka, Platinivka, and Starisia, as well as Voschansk. So basically, the airstrikes happened in super many places in all this area here, as the Ukrainian forces were withdrawing away from their failed offensive. So, and this entire operation is a tremendous success for the Russian side, because the Ukrainians did not even penetrate through the border. However, the Ukrainians did conduct massive shelling onto the Russian town of Shebekino and as well as Novaya Tovozanka. So the Russians did not get out of this totally unscathed, but is not particularly special because cross-border shellings has been ongoing for a year now across all the borders. So no shelling across each other's into residential area is not particularly special. So that is the entire SITREP for the fighting at the Shebekino region, where the Ukrainians tried to attack in this two-pronged attack where they got spotted too early. Maybe they shouldn't have shelled for 1 hour, because as they do the massive shelling, that actually probably alerted the Russian forces to reinforce that line, because satellite, drones and everything start to fly all over the place in those areas to see whether a Ukrainian attack is coming, and they probably spotted it much earlier than what the Ukrainians want. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 463 for the 1st of June. I just realized I didn't zoom in like this. Hopefully, those watching on the phone can still see it. And again, just a reminder about subscribing. I wouldn't be repeating this like every video. It's going to be just these few days. Just to remind that if you don't subscribe, if you are watching all the way to this point and you don't subscribe, then you are not helping the channel to grow, because the videos are promoted to subscribe and non-subscribe viewers. And if you are non-subscribed, and because you watched this before, YouTube will keep pushing it to you. But then when they push it to you, they don't push it to a new viewer. So that's the problem we are facing at DPA. So do support by subscribing, and I'll see you in the next update.